Hey, what's up everyone and welcome to the crash course for Redis Stack. In this course, what we are going to cover is we are going to cover the overview of Redis Stack. We will understand what is Redis Stack and how it is beneficial to use Redis Stack. And we will also cover how to install Redis Stack in your local system and how to use the Redis cloud as well, how to get the free tier of Redis Stack cloud and how we can utilize those services as well. We will also see how to utilize the RedisInsight tool, which is a visualization tool to see the Redis keys in the Redis database, and we will be creating a full stack application using the Redis Stack, Spring Boot and next.js. So we are going to cover a lot of details in this course and we are going to create a complete application with just the help of Redis Stack. So we are going to use Redis Stack as our primary database in our application. And along this course, if you have any doubts, then you can reach me on any of the social media. I am available on Twitter, LinkedIn and Instagram. You can reach me anywhere and you can also comment down here as well. Now, before we deep dive into the Redis Stack, let me show you the application that we are going to build today using the Redis Stack. So if you can see over here, this is the coins ranking application that we have developed over here using the Redis Stack, and your backend is Spring Boot and your UI is standard Next.js in React we have developed. So here you can see that you are getting the list of cryptocurrencies, top 50 cryptocurrencies based on the market capital. So this is a list of all the cryptocurrencies, and if you click on any of the currencies, you can get the details of the history as well. You can get the data of the last 24 hours. You can get the data of last 7 days, last 30 days, 3 months, 1 year, 3 years and 5 years. So this is all the data you will be getting from the Redis Stack itself. So we are going to store all the data in Redis Stack and we are going to fetch each and every details from Redis Stack using our Spring Boot application. So that's what we are going to build today. And this is not just with the Bitcoin. You can go ahead and check for the Ethereum as well and you will get the similar data. So this is going to be a really good application to build with Redis Stack, and why we chose Redis Stack, that also I'll tell you once we start using the Redis Stack. With that being said, this is the application that we are going to develop. Now let's go ahead and understand the Redis Stack. Now what is Redis Stack? Redis Stack is the extension of Redis, which you already know and love, on the top of it, and it provides the modern data structures. As you already know that the modern application, modern web application or modern backend application, whatever you are developing now, that requires a lot of complex data structures because the applications are now more complex than ever. So there has to be a solution which gives you the benefit of using all those complex data structure within the same umbrella. So Redis Stack gives you the queryable JSON document as well. So you can create the queryable JSON documents within the Redis Stack just like you would be doing in any of the NoSQL database. So you can create your entire documents, you can create your entire application with just the help of Redis as your NoSQL database. So that's the key advantages that you will be getting using the Redis Stack as your JSON document database. It also allows you to do the full text search. So there is a functionality of RedisSearch which will help you to do full index based search in your entire database, and it will be very quick to fetch all the data from the Redis. It also provides you to store the data in the TimeSeries format. So if you see any of the application, some or the other way, you will be seeing the data in the TimeSeries, where you will see a graph and you will see a history of data points from the time period. So you can use RedisTimeSeries to store all those type of data. So if you want to create any graph data structure and if you want to store any data using the graph, that is also been provided by the Redis Stack. And if you want to use any probabilistic data structure to find any probability based on your data that you have, and if you don't want to do a complete search or complete operation on all top of that data, then you can directly use this probabilistic data structure which will give you results very quickly. So this is just the overview of Redis Stack and what is included in the Redis Stack. Now why to use Redis Stack? The main thing is it allows you to create a real-time application based on the developer focus. So it is more advantageous for a developer to use Redis because there are a lot of tools available, a lot of simplicity to use Redis because you don't have to worry about all the internals nitty-gritty about the Redis, how internally Redis is storing the data. There is a lot of commands available. You can directly use those commands and you are good to go to create your real-time applications. And the processing of the command is really quick. You can get the data in the sub-millisecond time. So the processing of data, if you are creating the application which requires a really quick processing, then Redis is the way to go. as it also saves the data in memory. And we talked about how Redis Stack is using the modern data structure, so it allows you to store data in documents, graphs, search, and time series, so you can leverage all these data structures to create your application. That's a key advantages of using Redis Stack. And due to open source, there are a lot of client libraries available that you can use in your application to interact with your Redis Stack. There are libraries for your Node application, your Java application, your Go, Rust, Python, and lot more. So for most of the programming languages, there are client libraries available. I will add the link of all the libraries available for Redis Stack, so you can check those out, and whatever programming languages you are choosing, you can use those libraries accordingly. And the most advantages you will get using the Redis Stack is to use the RedisInsight. RedisInsight is a visualization tool that helps you to see all the data stored in the Redis database. As earlier you were only using Redis CLI, with the help of this RedisInsight, you can visualize all your data as well. As if you have already stored your data in TimeSeries in Redis, you can directly see your graph as well. As if you have already stored data in RedisJSON, you can directly see your JSON as well. So this is the key advantages of using RedisInsight. We will go through that RedisInsight in detail as well in the upcoming videos. So this is what it gives the advantages and a firm reason to use Redis Stack in your application. Now, what are the components available in the Redis Stack? As the name suggests, Redis Stack that will be having a list of components or technologies packed together in one component. So Redis Stack includes RedisSearch, RedisGraph, RedisTimeSeries, RedisBloom, and RedisInsight. Now all these are different components, and along with all those, you can use different data structures and you can store data differently. All these components interact with each other very easily, and using any of the client libraries that you are going to use with your application, you can interact with everyone, with each and every component very easily. It's very easy to use. We are going to see that in the future videos. So we'll go over each and every components available in the Redis Stack, and we will see what that particular components gives us. RedisSearch. As the name suggests, RedisSearch, that component is there for giving you the search functionalities. So RedisSearch provides secondary indexing, full text search, and a query language for Redis. So whenever your application needs to do any operation regarding search, so your application is heavily dependent on search operations, at that particular time you can opt for RedisSearch, and you can configure your application to use RedisSearch to get the best out of your application. So RedisSearch will enable the multi-field queries, aggregation, exact phrase matching, and numeric filtering for text queries. So your application is performing such kind of operation, then RedisSearch is the way to go. It will give you very fast performance while using RedisSearch to search your entire data. I will share this presentation with you, and I have also provided the link as well, where you can go and see all the Redis commands available, and you can go through all the commands and how you can store the data in the database and how you can get the data from the Redis Stack. So I'll just show you one demo over here as well. So if you open here, you can see these are all the commands available for RedisSearch, and if you open any of the commands, so here you can see that you are seeing a command and a list of all the parameters available for that particular command, and a complete documentation as well, like what all parameters is doing. That complete documentation is available, and at the bottom you can see you will be having the example as well, how to use this particular command. So you can go ahead and check all these particular commands, and you can utilize all these commands. Now RedisJSON, as the name suggests, it allows you to store all the data in the JSON document. So if you are aware about all the NoSQL databases like MongoDB, Cassandra, DynamoDB, or all those others, they allow you to store your entire JSON document. So you can store entire your JSON document as a document, and you can do all the operations on that particular JSON document. RedisJSON allows you to do the same thing. So Redis can be used as your entire database as a NoSQL database to store all your data, and as it store all the data in the in-memory, and there is a functionality also to store all the data in the file format as well. It gives you the flexibility to use RedisJSON as your primary database to store all your data which are immediately needed in your RedisJSON. And if you want to do any replication or anything, those all functionalities are also provided, so you can do all those functionalities as well. At the end, it will result in a very fast performant application where you can query all those data very quickly. And as in the RedisJSON, you can create the indexes as well for your documents. So while creating the indexes, it is easily integrated with the RedisSearch as well. So whatever the data that you have stored in the RedisJSON format in the RedisJSON module. RedisSearch can also leverage that, and you can get a pretty fast searching application as well. And all your data can be searched very easily on your RedisJSON using the Redis search functionality. As I said earlier, all the Redis Stack components work together very easily. And I've also added the link for your RedisJSON command as well, how to create the RedisJSON and how to get the data or fetch the data or modify the data based on the commands. So these all commands are the basic commands that you can directly utilize in the Redis CLI. But when you are creating your application, you will be using any client libraries. Those client libraries will be internally handling those commands. So you don't have to worry about it. But if you want to go through your database, if you want to fetch any data or anything, you can utilize all these commands. It's like your relational database. You will be always working with the queries as well. So it's always good to know the commands as well for Redis. So the primary features of RedisJSON, as I said, that it provides the standard JSON format, standard JSON syntax, and in that format you can store the data. And it also provides the JSON path-like syntax. So if you want to query any data, how generally you would be querying in a JSON document, the similar way you can query this data. And if I show you, this is the particular example of a JSON data that suppose you have stored in the Redis Stack, and you can see if you want to get the full address, right? So you can directly go and check with the dot full address and you will get the full address. If you want to just get the house name from this, you can check by dot full name dot house name and you will get the house name as well. So that's a similar thing you would be doing in your JSON document as well. You would be doing the same thing with the RedisJSON as well. So with this simplicity, you will be able to easily grab all the functionalities of RedisJSON. Now RedisGraph. RedisGraph stores all your data in your graph format. So whenever you want to store any data within the graph format, you can opt with the RedisGraph module. Now the graphs in the Redis are based on the sparse adjacency matrices. I will add the link in the description below for you to understand what is sparse adjacency matrices. And the query language that is being used to query all the graphs data is the Cypher. So I will add the link in the description for you to check the Cypher as well. So ideally when you will be using the graph data structure. So let's take the example of a social media where you are the center, where you have your profile and you will be connecting with your friends as well. So you have suppose 4 friends and those friends have another friends as well. So you can see that F1 has 3 friends, F2 has another friends, F3 has another friends, and F4 has also friends. So you can see that this is creating the entire graph. And if I want to get the data, so suppose if I want to get the data, like I need all the friends of my friend F1. So you can see that easily from here I can get all the friends of F1 friend. And if I want to get all the friends of F2, I can get the data as well. And if I want to get all the friends of a friend, so I want all the friends of a friend, then also I can get the data easily using the graph data structure. So this is the one example that I have shown you where the graph data structure is being used, but there are a lot of examples and there are a lot of applications where graph data structure is being used. So for all those things, you can use the RedisGraph. RedisTimeSeries is used when you want to store the data based on your time interval. So suppose if you want to store the data of the stock, suppose taking the example of a stock. So if you want to store the data for stock prices, so that's the basic example that you will be storing data. If you want to store the history of the weather at the time, that data is also based on the time, right? So all the data that is based on the time interval and the data changes accordingly, those type of data can be stored in the RedisTimeSeries. Now as RedisTimeSeries allows you to insert high volume and low latency reads, it is a perfect fit for storing all TimeSeries data, because TimeSeries data ideally would be very huge. Like by taking one example, if you want to take the weather information, like what is the weather in Bangalore for last 100 years, you can see that's a pretty big data. So those kind of data can be easily stored in RedisTimeSeries, and it also allows you to aggregate the data. So weather information changes pretty regularly, right? But what you need is, I need the average weather for a particular day. And if you want the weather information of last 1 month, you don't need all the information. You just need the average of a particular day. Okay, so that entire 24-hour data can be aggregated into one record for one particular day and rest for all the other data as well. So you can see that a lot of data for entire 24 hours we aggregated to only one record for each day. Similarly, if I want to aggregate the entire month data into 1 month of record, that also can be done using the aggregate function in the Redis time series. So you will be doing the downsampling or compaction of the entire data. Those type of functionalities is also available in the Redis time series, which are very helpful to show the history of the data. And there is also functionality to add the labels for your data. So suppose if you are storing the huge set of data, and suppose some set of data you see there is an anomaly or there is a huge variation of the data, so for those kind of data you can add the labels, and in the future if you want to get the data, you can get those variations or deviations directly based on the labels itself. You don't have to filter out everything. You can directly filter it out, like I need all data from this timestamp to this timestamp where the label is this. So whatever the label you have provided, you can directly get those anomalies or directly get those data easily from the Redis time series. So there are a lot of functionalities also available, and the example that I told you that was regarding the stock prices. So you can see if you are showing this kind of data where you are showing the entire graph from, you can see this particular example shows the data from 1900 to 2000. So that's a pretty 100 years of record. So that can be easily stored and easily accessed using the Redis time series. So this is the huge advantages of Redis time series, where you can store this kind of data. Now RedisBloom. So if you want to store any data based on your probability, so at that time you will need the probabilistic data structure. So RedisBloom provides you the scalable bloom filter, a cuckoo filter, count, min, sketch, and a top K data structures. So these are all the probabilistic data structures that you can use with the RedisBloom to store all your data. So suppose if you have a huge amount of data and if you just want to find the probability of a certain element, a certain degree of element is present in that particular huge amount of data or not, then it's not a good idea to search everything. So at that time you will be using the probabilistic data structures like bloom and cuckoo filters, where you can get those type of data very easily. If you want to find the frequency, or if you want to determine the frequency of events that has been present in the stream at that particular time, you can use the count, min, sketch data structure. And if you want to find the topmost frequencies, like if you want to find the frequencies of data based on your entire data set at that particular time, you can use the top K data structures. Now all these data structures, everything is available for each and every data structure. There are different commands available, and whatever the libraries you would be using, there will be different methods and different implementation also would be available for all this kind of data structure. You can directly easily store the data and get the data. You don't have to worry about the internal implementation of this data structures. So to store the probabilistic data structures, RedisBloom is used. RedisInsight is a powerful tool for visualizing and optimizing Redis data. So if you have stored all the data in your Redis or Redis Stack, then there should be a place where you can see all the data. So RedisInsight provides you that tool. It allows you to connect to any of the Redis cluster that you have, and you can see all the data of that particular cluster. You can see all the data structure. You can go through the Redis time series, you can go through RedisJSON, RedisBloom, everything you can go through it, and you can see all the data within the RedisInsight. So it helps you to visualize your data, and accordingly you can create your application. So this is the best tool that you use with your Redis Stack to improve your productivity. So it comes with the GUI and CLI as well. So whatever you are comfortable with, you can go ahead and you can get the data from the Redis Stack. So in this video, we are going to see how to install Redis Stack in your machine. I would recommend you to install Redis Stack using the Docker, because that's the best way and easiest way to install Redis Stack. Either you are using Mac or Linux or Windows, install Docker in your system and then run one command to install Redis Stack easily in your machine. So if you have not installed Docker, then just go to Docker website and search for Docker install, and just download the Docker engine for your particular platform. If you are using Mac OS or Windows, anything, download the Docker desktop and install in your machine. It would be easily installed, and once you start the Docker, once the Docker is completely installed in your system, and then we can go ahead and install the Redis Stack. To install the Redis Stack, just go to the Redis Stack, install Redis Stack, and run Redis Stack on Docker. So this is what we are going to do. You can go ahead and install Redis Stack on your Mac using the homebrew as well, and you can directly add your libraries on your Linux machine as well. But my recommendation would be always using the Docker. So I'll show you using the Docker. let me go to the run Redis Stack on Docker, and you can see you are getting the command to get your image and get it started running. So we will be using this command where docker run -d -name, that is the Redis Stack, and you can see you are seeing these two ports over here, that is the 6379 that is the port of your Redis Stack Server, and 8001 that is also exposed, that is the port for your RedisInsight. So once you install this, you will get your Redis Server as well and RedisInsight as well. Both should be downloaded and installed very easily. So just copy this command and go to your terminal and run this command, that is docker run -d -name, that is the name of your image, that is Redis Stack, and two ports you are exposing, that is the 6379 for your Redis Stack and 8001 for your RedisInsight, and the image that you are using is Redis/RedisStack latest. And you can see that I already had that image in my machine, so it didn't download it, but if you're doing first time, then it will download the image. So if I see docker images, I should be seeing that image. You can see I am seeing this Redis Stack image, and if I see docker ps, you can see that image is started as well. Okay, and now if I go to browser and if I open localhost colon 8001, you can see that RedisInsight is open. You can directly configure. You just have to enable this. I have read and understood the server-side public license. You can go ahead and enable the analytics or encrypt sensitive information as well, whatever you want to do, but this is all fine, and click on submit. And your RedisInsight is started and it also connected to your Redis server. Okay, currently you can see that there are no keys available, there is no data available in your database, but it is ready to go ahead. So this is how you would be installing Redis server in your machine, either it's Windows or Mac or Linux. Now there is a Redis cloud also available where you can leverage the cloud functionalities of Redis Stack. So I'll show you that as well, how to register to the Redis cloud and how we can get the 6 months of benefit to using the free tier of Redis Stack. So let's go there, just search with Redis cloud and I'll click on Redis Enterprise Cloud over here and try for free. I will add this link in the description below directly, so you can go to this link directly. It's very simple, redis.com/try-free. Okay, and here you can see that you are getting all the information that you can get the $200 coupon also, so you can use this for 6 months. So the coupon code is tiger200. Okay, all the information is available here directly to get the Redis cloud up and running. So from here what you need is you just need to log in with your account or create a new account. I'll be logging with my Google account, so let me just log in with the Google account here. Let me click on sign up with Google and I'll be just logged in. You can also go ahead and log in with your GitHub or Google, or you can create your account as well. So let me just sign up with Google. So once you log in here, you can see that you will be in this particular screen. You won't be having any databases added. These are the databases that I have added. Okay, all the subscription I have added. You won't be having any subscription. So what you can do is you can go ahead and you can go to the billing and payment, and here you need to add your payment details. You can see that I've already added one card, so you need to add your credit card information over here. Once you add your credit card information, you grab the coupon code from here, that is the tiger200. Just get the coupon from here and go to your credit section and add this particular coupon here and apply. Your coupon will be added. You can see that I have already added this coupon, so it is showing that you have already used this coupon. As you can see that recently only I have added this coupon. And once you add this particular coupon, after that what you can do is you can go to the new subscription and you can choose any of the subscriptions that you have. You can see that currently I have selected this subscription, that is the 100 MB for $7 per month. Okay, this subscription I have added, which allows me this money information. And once you add this particular subscription, once you create the subscription, all the subscription you will get here. You can see one subscription that is the free you can get, that is of 30 MB only data, and this is the 100 MB data that I have created the subscription using the billing and payment, using the credits that I have. Okay, And what you can do is you can create multiple databases that you want. Okay, so what, as I created only this one database, let me just delete this database so I can show you. Okay, this would be the default one for you. Okay, there won't be any database added. So what you can do, you can just go ahead, new database, and you can add the database. You can see I'm adding DCB main, that's the database name. And then you can see you have to select what type of database you want to do. As we are using the Redis Stack, we will be using the Redis Stack over here. And then durability, that is high availability, and the data persistent. Do you want data persisted or not? Okay, suppose I'm doing snapshot every hour. So every hour the data will be snapshotted. And what is the eviction policy, how the keys you want to be deleted. So I'm just keeping the default, that is volatile LRU. And if you want, you can enable the remote backups as well. So when you enable remote backups, you have to give the Amazon S3 bucket URL. So whatever the bucket you have created, you can create a bucket in AWS and give that backup destination over here. So it will be backed up over there. Make sure that it has a proper permission as well, because without permission, it won't be able to do. So for more information, you can read over here. You will get all the information. It's very easy to set up. I don't want any backup, so I'll just make it off here. And here you can see that you will get the security information, you will get the default user, and you will get the password information from here. And if you want only your database to be used from the allowed IP address, that also you can add using the CIDR allow list. You can add all the IP addresses over here, all the CIDR information. Okay, all this information, you can see that everything you can configure over here. And once this is done, you can go ahead and activate the database. Within couple of seconds, your database will be activated. And once you create the database, you can see that you will get a public endpoint. So this is the public endpoint you can use to connect to your applications. And after this, what you can do is you can do all kind of things over here. You can go to the data access control and you can create multiple users, which all users you can create, and those users only will be able to use your database. You can also give certain roles, you can give certain Redis ACLs, all the information you can give over here. You can see your account usage, account information over here. You can see the usage reports as well, how much data that you have used, all the information you can see here. And whenever you want, you can create a new subscription as well. So there are multiple subscriptions that you can create. The only thing is that $200 will be used with those subscription, and that is valid only for 6 months. So make sure that you utilize Redis Cloud. That's a really good platform, and all the things has been handled by the Redis Cloud. You don't have to worry about anything doing manually. Everything is handled here. The other thing you can do is how you can connect this application. Okay, so what we can do is I'll show you the thing that how to connect. So if you go to the databases, and this is my database, you can see that this is where my free tier database, and this is my subscribe database. Okay, so I will go here, I will go to my RedisInsight, and with this RedisInsight, what I can do, I can add Redis database. I can add the host information. So I'll just copy this, I will add the host information. You can see port number, database, everything is added. Username I don't have to add. Password I will add. So what I'll do, I'll go to my database. I'll just copy the password from here. I will add the password and add Redis database. You can see that database has been added. I can directly go here, connect it, and I can do all the operations over here. Okay, it's simple, easy to connect to your database as well, and it is very easy to interact with your cloud database using the RedisInsight. So make sure that you are utilizing this Redis Cloud. Make sure that you are using this coupon code, that is the Tiger 200 given over here. So this all information is available for everyone. This is in the Redis website as well, available, Redis Cloud website. So if you want, I can share this link with you as well. But if you directly search with redis.com/try-free, you will be redirected to this website, and all the information is given over here. Okay, we have not done anything special here. So let me just walk you through the RedisInsight and how you can utilize the RedisInsight and what are the different options available in the RedisInsight. So if you want to go ahead and use the RedisInsight separately as well, if you don't want RedisInsight with your Redis Stack version, then also you can download RedisInsight and you can connect to any of your Redis Stack database. So if you have your cloud versions available, right? So if you have your cloud Redis cloud database and that you want to connect with your RedisInsight, that also you can directly do. So for that, you just have to install the Redis Stack separately. You don't have to download the Redis server and RedisInsight that I shown you earlier. So just search with RedisInsight and go to download section and just fill all this information and give your operating system, whatever you're using. I'm using macOS M1, so I'll just select this and I will download it. If you're using Windows or Linux, anything, you can select that particular and you can download it. So click on download to get the RedisInsight and just normal whatever the installation process is for your operating system. That's the simple thing that you have to do. So I'll just drag and drop in my application, and as I already had it, you can see that it's asking me to replace. So I'll just replace it. Search for RedisInsight and just open this, and you can see that your RedisInsight is open and you can see directly connected with your local Redis. Okay, so whatever the local Redis you had installed with the Docker, it directly connected with it. And if you want to add any other Redis database, you can go over here, that is add Redis database, and you can give your host information, port information, the name of your database, and the username and password. So as if you are using the Redis cloud, you have the username and password there. You will get those information. Just add those information and connect to the database. So let me just log in here. You can see that you are going to see the same information that you are seeing over here. Okay, same information because it is connected to the same Redis server. So you can see that here you will be able to see all the keys, all the data available in your Redis server, and this section will let you see all the values of the Redis database. And there is one great feature available in the RedisInsight, that is the Redis Workbench. Here you can see that this Redis Workbench will allow you to perform any queries over here for your Redis stack, and you can see the data, and it also allows you to see how to utilize or how to do all those queries for all the Redis Stack components available. So if you want to work with the RedisTimeSeries database, and if you don't know how to work with RedisTimeSeries and how all the queries are there, it will walk you through the complete step-by-step process to do that. So just click on introduction, you will get complete introduction. Click on next. You can see that if you want to create or delete a time series, just click on it and you can see that you are getting the complete query as well. Okay, so this is the query. You can see that ts.create, and you can see that you are getting a proper commented section and everything. So here what it is doing is it is trying to create a time series. Okay, so the command is time series, that is the ts.create, and here you can see that this is the key name for the time series. Okay, sensor1 is the key name, and we are creating with the label. So you can see it adds a label that can be either string or numeric values. And what is the label? That is the area ID 32. And what is the region? That is the region is. So you can see we added the two labels over here, that is the area ID 32 and region as East, and we are creating one time series. So if you just run this, you can see that you got the result. Okay, that means you created the time series. If you want to get the time series information, you can get the time series information this way, that is ts.info and the name of the time series, that is the sensor one that we created. Okay, so if I run this, you can see that I'm getting the data, that is the sensor one. This is the query that we did. Okay, there are two queries available, right? So if you see ts.info sensor one, so for this is the result. You can see total samples available, memory usage, first timestamp, last timestamp, retention time, all those information you can get for your time series whatever you created using this command. And the other command that we executed was to get the query index, so it will give us the name of the time series itself. Now if we want to manage data endpoints, if you want to add the data, we can add the data this way. Okay, so ts.add, that will allow you to add the data and in which particular key we need to add the data. So suppose we need to add the data in our sensor 1. Okay, and what data we are adding? We are adding the timestamp, that is at which particular time we want to store the data and what data that we want to store. I will show you this in the browser so I can zoom it a little bit. Okay, let me go to the workbench, time series, introduction, next, add. Okay, I'm showing you here just so that I can zoom a little bit. Okay, so this is the ts.add sensor1 and this is the data that you are storing. If you want to add the multiple data, you can use the ts.madd command, that is the multiple addition of data points, where you will pass the name of the key and then data, that is the first timestamp value, then again key name and timestamp and value. Star means current time. Okay, and if I execute this, you can see that all the data has been added. And if you want to read the data, this is the query to read the data. You can see that ts.mget filter with area id 52. This will return the last sample. Okay, so whatever the last timestamp would be, you will be getting that timestamp. So if I execute this, you can see that you are getting the last timestamp data. This is the last timestamp added and this is the value for that particular timestamp from the key sensor1. And if you want to update the time series, you can go ahead and update the time series like this is the value ts.alter sensor1, that is the key name, this is the timestamp which you want to update and give the new value. Simple, it will update the data. Okay, you can see it's executed, you are getting the okay as well. And if you want to delete, you can go ahead and delete as well. You will get the command for delete as well, that is ts.delete sensor1, and you will pass all the list of timestamp that you want to delete. And if you click on next, you can see that you can create the rules as well. So if you want to compact any data, right, as we talked earlier, like in time series, you can aggregate the data, you can compact the data as well. So if you want to create such kind of rules, you can create the rules from here. You will get the example. This is the example, and similarly you can create the rules for your application. Okay, so this is just the example, a walkthrough for you to understand the concepts, understand everything. So you can go through each and every thing over here, how to get the filter data from the label, how to filter data from the values, okay, filter data from the timestamp, all those information you can see, you will get from here. And this way you can learn all the commands in the Redis Stack. If you want to learn about graphs, then you can go ahead and learn about the graphs as well. Okay, you will get all the information, how to create the graph, delete the graph, how to create relationships, everything. Okay, so this is the best place to learn all the Redis commands and all the functionalities of all the components of the Redis Stack. So whenever you get any doubt about anything, you can just come to Workbench over here and you can get all the information over here. And suppose we want to create the document, right? So let's go to the introduction, let's go here, let's create this and let's execute this, and you can see that everything is executed. Okay, and if you come to here over here key, and if you refresh here, you can see that whatever that you had created till now, all the data is available over here. So you can see that you created a couple of hashes, you created one time series data. So if you click here, you can see all the details available over here. Okay, this is for school 2, this is for school 3, and this is for time series. For time series data, you cannot directly get the values here, so you have to query only. So you need to go through your Workbench and you need to query that directly. Okay, so this is just the overview of the RedisInsight. It's a really powerful tool, so you can just go through the RedisInsight and you can explore all the things available. Now after going through the overview of the Redis Stack and all the components available within the Redis Stack, and also installing and getting started with the Redis Stack in our local environment and the cloud, we can go ahead and implement our application. We can finally leverage Redis Stack in our application. So what we are going to create is, we are going to create a Spring Boot backend service and we are going to create a next.js UI application. Your Spring Boot application will be using the Redis Stack as a source of your data. So what we are going to do is, we have one API that will allow you to get all the cryptocurrency information. So we are using the Rapid API for that. I will show you how to get those API details as well. So it's free, so you can directly get those details as well. So with that API, what we will get is, we will get the entire list of cryptocurrencies, top 50 cryptocurrencies based on the market capital. Plus there is an API from which we will get the history of the information about the prices of all the cryptocurrencies. So we are going to leverage that two APIs to get all the information and store in our Redis database. So whenever your application is going to start, you can get all the information and you can store in your Redis, and you can add a scheduler as well, which will refresh all the data at every 24 hours of interval. So whenever you are querying the backend application from the UI, you will get the data easily. Now, how we are going to store the data, let's discuss that. So in this application, we are going to leverage the two modules of the Redis Stack, that is the RedisJSON and the RedisTimeSeries. We are going to use the RedisJSON as our NoSQL database to store the entire document of all the cryptocurrencies. So whatever the data that we are getting for the cryptocurrency, like all the information of a particular cryptocurrencies and all those 50, we are going to store in the Redis document as a Redis JSON format. Okay, so that is the one module that we are going to use, and we are going to traverse through that particular document to fetch the data and to show in the UI. Okay, and we are going to use Redis time series to store the history of the price details of the particular cryptocurrencies. So for each and every cryptocurrencies, as I shown you in the demo, we have the data for last 24 hours, last 7 days, last 30 days, last 3 months, 1 year, 5 year and 3 years. Okay, so this all bunch of different data that we have. So all those time series data we are going to store in the Redis time series. So we can easily get those data based on the value provided, and we can directly show in the UI. Now, as we are going to use the Redis time series, it will be very quicker to fetch all the information and to show in the UI. You don't have to worry about all the complicated queries when you are using relational database. No worries about it. No headache about anything. Whatever data you store data in such a way that you can easily grab those data and you can directly display it in the UI whenever the user requests for any kind of data. So that's what we are going to do today over here, to fetch all the data of the cryptocurrencies, top 50 cryptocurrencies, and to get all the history information of prices of each and every cryptocurrencies. Now, firstly, we are going to build the backend application. So I'm going to create the Spring Boot application, and we are going to connect our Spring Boot application to our Redis Stack. So let me just create this Spring Boot application. You can directly create this Spring Boot application from your IntelliJ IDEA as well, or you can create using the Spring Initializer as well. So let me just open the IntelliJ IDEA and let me create the new project. I will change the folder structure here, and I'll give the name here Crypto Rankings Service. I'll give the folder as well here, and then my language would be Java, type would be Maven, and I'm comfortable with Maven, so I'm using Maven. But if you're comfortable with Gradle, you can go ahead with Gradle as well. I will give the group name as com.daily code buffer. Artifact I'll give as Crypto Ranking Service itself, and the package name I will keep the same thing, that is the Crypto Ranking Service. You can change to either crypto or crypto ranking, whatever. Let's make it to crypto only. Okay, and then JDK I'm using JDK 11, and packaging would be char type. So click on next, and here you can add your dependencies. So I'm going to use the Lombok dependency, and I'm going to use the Spring Web dependency. So these two dependencies I've added. I don't need any other dependency for now. So let's go ahead and generate the project. So you can see that project is created and it's trying to resolve all the dependencies. So we'll wait for that to complete. Now we need the Redis client library as well to connect our Spring Boot application to our Redis database. So if you go to the browser and if you go to Redis Stack, and if you scroll down, I want to use the time series and JSON. So let me go to the time series, and from here let me go to the clients available, and you can see these are all the different clients available for the different programming languages. Okay, and what I want to use is I want to go for the Java language. So you can see that for Java, that is a Redis time series available, Redis modules Java available, and that's it. So let me just check this one. Okay, and here you can see that this particular library I can use with the RedisBloom, Search, TimeSeries, Redis AI, RedisGraph, RedisJSON. So for everything I'll be able to use this library. So I'll go ahead with this library, and here you can see that you are getting the Maven dependency as well. Okay, so I will include this dependency, that is Redis module all, so I can use all the modules available. If you want to only use particular, you can see that it's also given this way, that you can use the particular modules as well. And if you want to search the same thing using the Maven repository as well, you can go ahead and search the same thing. Let me just copy this, and if I go to MVN repository, I should be able to search this. Yeah, you can see that I'm able to search this. All this particular dependencies are there. So if we need all in one, we can go ahead here, all in one, and get this version. And we can add in our pom.xml file. Go here, I will add the dependency here, and I will reload the Maven project. Okay, you can see that it's synced, so all my dependency is available now. Okay, so this is how you will add your dependency. Now you will need different packages available, so let's create the different packages. So let me go to the src main java and let's create the different packages. I'll create the new package that says config controller, and the next package is model. We are going to create different models. We are going to create a service. We are going to create the utils. Okay, config controller model service utils, that's what I remember, and if there is anything else we can add it later as well. So these are the packages that we are going to create, and what we are going to do is we are going to add the different configuration. So the first thing that we need to add is the Redis configuration. So let's go ahead and add the Redis configuration so it can directly connect to our Redis server. So in the config folder, what I'll do, I'll create one Java class that says Redis config, and I need to annotate with @configuration. Okay, so you can see that your configuration class is ready. Now you need few details over here. So what you need is private static final string Redis URL, okay, where you want to connect. So I will add the URL. So the URL you have to add is this way, that is redis:// then the host name : port name. So as I'm using my local Redis, so that is 127.0.0.1 and the port is 6379. So this is your Redis URL. So this is what we are going to use in our configuration. So the first thing that we need is the config object. So let's create the public config, and you can see that this config would be from the RedisInsight, that is the library underneath the library that we are using. Okay, so we are going to create config. This will be bean, and here we'll create the object of config equals to new config, and we will say config dot use single server, as we are using single server over here, dot set address as Redis URL. And as if you have any password for your Redis database, then you can do with the set password as well. Okay, with the set password you can provide your password, so it will authenticate with that password. For my local, I don't have any password, so I'm not providing any password. Okay, but if you're using your cloud, then you need to give that password field as well, and then return config. Okay, so your config object is created. Now you need the object of TimeSeries and JSON client, because that's the two clients that we are going to use in our application. So we will configure it here and we will just forget it. So let me just create the public Redis TimeSeries client. So you can see that this Redis TimeSeries client is from the Redis module that we have added. This will take the config object. Okay, and this will return new Redis TimeSeries client, which will take the config. This will be also your bean. So your Redis TimeSeries client is there. Now you need the object of Redis TimeSeries as well. So for that also I'll do public Redis TimeSeries, which will take the object of Redis TimeSeries client. Redis TimeSeries client, and this will return Redis TimeSeries client dot get Redis TimeSeries. This will be also your bean. So your Redis TimeSeries client and your Redis TimeSeries is done. So whenever you want to work with Redis TimeSeries, you just auto wire this object whenever you want and you are good to go. Now the same thing we have to do for the RedisJSON client as well. So I'll just do public RedisJSON client, which will take config object, and it will return new RedisJSON client, which will take the config. This is also your bean. Okay, one more you need is the RedisJSON. So public RedisJSON, which will inject RedisJSON client, and this will return RedisJSON client dot RedisJSON. Simple, right? @bean. Simple, your entire Redis configuration is done. You don't have to worry about now connecting Redis to your application. Whenever you want to work with RedisTimeSeries, just get this RedisTimeSeries object and you can directly call all the methods. And whenever you want to work with RedisJSON, just auto wire this object and just call all the methods within this RedisJSON. Now I will show you the Rapid API as well, from where we are going to fetch the data. So let's go to the browser and let's go to the Rapid API. Okay, I will add the link for this also in the description below. There are a lot of free APIs available and there are a lot of paid APIs available as well. So whatever you want, you can go ahead and choose the APIs. So just log in to this particular portal. I have already logged in, so I'll just log in here. So once you log in here, you can see there are a lot of APIs available. So what I did, I had searched for the cryptos here, and there are a lot of cryptos API available, and I went ahead and used this one, that is the coin ranking one. And you can see you will get all the informations over here. You can see all the APIs available here and how to use those APIs and how and what will be the output as well. Okay, all those information you will get from here, and from here you can see you will get your API host and API key as well. Okay, so it's free, so you can get these keys very easily. So use your keys in your application when we are configuring this. Now what we have to do is we are going to get all this data in the JSON format, and we have to map our data from the JSON format to our classes, because in Java we will be working with the classes, right? So we need to create the different classes that can hold this type of data. Okay, so that's what we are going to do now. So from here we are going to use two APIs, that is the getCoins API. So if you see, this is the getCoins API, which will give you all the coins, and this is the output data where you will get a success, and here you will get the data, here you will get the states as well, and here you will get all the coin information. Okay, you can see there is only one coin, but when you execute this test endpoint, in the result you can see you will get all the 50, and for all the coins you will get all this particular information. Okay, so that's what we want, and that's what we are going to store in our RedisJSON. But for all this JSON format, we need to have the classes as well. Okay, so then only we will be able to fetch the data and we will be able to convert those into our objects. So what you can do is you can get all this JSON format. There are a lot of converters available that will help you to convert your JSON data into your Java class object. You can directly use those services and you can convert it. There are a lot of online free available. If you see over here as well, this particular entire object, right, this is a JSON object. This JSON object has fields, that is the status field and the data field. This data field is again the object. Okay, so you can create one status field that is a string and one data field that is an object, and within this object you can see there are other fields. This states field is there. This states field is also an object which has few fields over here, and you have another coin fields, and this coin field is the list. So you can create the list, and within that list, what type of list that you are going to create. So that list is also an object. So you can create an object and you can give all those fields over here. Okay, so that's the general idea. That's the basic thing, that how you can create the object structure, model structure in your Java application based on the JSON data that you want to store. So that's what we are going to do. Let's go ahead and do that. So within this model folder, we are going to create bunch of classes. So what I'll do, I'll just copy all the classes which I have to save over time, because that's just a Pojo files, so that we are not wasting any time. So let me just copy all the classes. So here you can see that I've added few classes over here. That is the coin data, coin info, coin price history data, coin price history, exchange rate, coins, coin data, and history data. So you can see that this is the coins class that I've created, and I'm using @data annotation for my Lombok. Okay, so I will show you what it is. Okay, so if you see this, so here you can see it has status and data. Okay, these are the two parent over here. Okay, so for this I created the coins class, and this coins class has two fields, that is the status and data, that is status and data over here. And this data is again an object. So for this data I've created the object, that is the coin data. This coin data has two fields, that is the states and coins, two fields within the data. And this states field is also the object, and this coins is the array of objects. So that's what we define. State is a coin state object and coins is the array of objects. So that's we define the list of coin info. And within the coin state we define all the fields available over here within the coin states. And for the coins, this is the array list. So for that also we define in the coin info what are the fields available. So all the fields that we have defined here. Okay, and within the coin info, if you see, there is a list also available, that is the spark line. So that's the array list. So for that we have defined the list of strings available. So that's how generally you will define the data model. Okay, and we will be working with the coins object. So whenever we are fetching the data from that particular API, we will store all the information within these coins. So it will be creating the entire object where we have the status and data and everything will be properly aligned. And the other API that we are going to use is the get coin price history. So for this particular API, you can see that we have to pass the reference currency UUID. So that's a UUID for the currency in which you want the data back. By default, it's the US dollar. So we are going to get the data in the US dollar itself. But if you want to give the another currency, you can give the UUID of that currency. You need to give the UUID for which you want to get the data. So this UUID is your required parameter where you will pass for which particular crypto coin you want to get the data. So so whenever you are getting this get coins data, for each coin there is a UUID. That particular UUID you have to pass here, and you have to pass the time period as well. By default, it's the 24 hours. So if you're not passing this, you will get the data for the last 24 hours. But these are the other values also you can pass. That is the 24 hours, 3 hours, 7 days, 30 days, 3 months, 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year. Okay. So based on the values that you are passing, you will get the data. And if it has this endpoint, you can see you are getting the result over here. And this is the same thing, you are getting the status and the data, and within the data you are getting the change and you are getting the history as well. And within the history you can see that you are getting all the records, and each and every record has two fields, that is the price and timestamp. Okay, so this is the time series data, and we are going to store all this data in our Redis time series. So if we go over here, our model looks like this. We have the coin history. Okay, this coin history has two things, that is the status and coin history data. That is the status and your coin history data. So status is done, and within the coin history you have two things, that is the change and the history. So if you go here, coin price history data, you have the change and the list of coin price history exchange rate. Okay, and within this exchange rate we have passed two values, that is the price and the timestamp. So when we are getting this particular record, we will get the entire object, and we can store this data in the time series based on the different time parameter that we are passing. So this is all about your model structure based on the data that you are getting from the URL. Now let's implement the custom web configuration, because all this data that we are getting from here, we are going to get all this data from the REST template. So we are going to do an API call, and to do this particular API call, you can see that we have to pass some header parameters. Okay, so we cannot add all these particular header parameters every time. So we are going to do all these particular header parameters once. We are going to configure it and we are going to use it every time. And if you want the code snippet how this is done for all the other programming languages, you can see that this is the code snippet for Node.js, and for all the programming languages there is a code snippet available, so you can utilize it. For Java, you can see that for all these different particular libraries, you can see there is a code available. You can go through it and you can get the codes. Ideally at the end, you can see that there is an HTTP headers that you have to add, that is the API key and the API host information. So that's what we are going to add here. So let's add the configuration for that, and after that we can directly get the data and store in the Redis Stack. So here in the configuration, we are going to create one more class, that is the custom webconfig.java. Okay, this is also we are going to create as the configuration, and here we are going to create the object of a REST template. So I'll just define public REST template and return new REST template. That's it, and we are going to define this as a bean. Okay, so here the object of REST template is created. So whenever you want to call the REST template, you can directly auto wire it and you can directly use it. Now let's create one utility as well. In the utils package, I'll create one utility, that is the HTTP utils. Okay, now in this particular HTTP utils, what we need is, we need two things, that is the API host and API key. So that's the two information that I'm going to add here as the static fields. So you can see that two static fields I have added, that is the API host and API key. Okay, this is the same host and key that you will get from here. Use your own keys. So this is the two key I need. Now I need to create the HTTP headers that I'm going to use every time. Okay, so for that what I'll do is I'll create one static method. So I create public static which will return HTTP entity, and this will be of type string, and I'll just define get HTTP entity, and here I need HTTP headers information equal to new HTTP headers dot set accept collections dot singleton list, and here I will add media type dot application JSON. We are going to get the data in the JSON format. Then what I need is I want to set the headers information. So I'll just copy paste this information, that is the headers dot set, that is the X rapid API key host which will take this host key, and X rapid API key which will take this API key. If you go to this browser, you can see that that's the same string. Just copy this information, add here, copy this information and add here, and pass your API key and API host. That's it. Okay, so you have set all the keys in your header. Now you need to send back the entity. So we will just return new HTTP entity, and your body is null, and you will pass the headers. Cool. Okay, simple thing. Your HTTP entity is also there, your REST template is also there, your Redis configuration is also done, your rapid API configuration is also done. All the configurations are done. Now what we need to do is, whenever you start your application, you want to fetch all the data from your APIs and you want to store in your Redis stack, so we can directly utilize from our application. So let's jump into it. So what I need is, I want to create one class, that is application startup. Okay, so this particular class will be called at the starting of your application. What and how it will get to know that we have to call this? So for that we need to implement application listener, and the type of the application listener is application ready event. Okay, and we need to override the method as well. We need to implement this on application event. Okay, this is the method, and we need to add this as a component as well. Now let's create the CoinsDataService, CoinsDataService, and we will mark this as a service. Okay, now this particular CoinsDataService is responsible to fetch the data and store in our Redis stack, and is also responsible to give the data from the Redis stack to the calling APIs. Okay, so any information, any data gathering and providing will be done by this Redis data service. Now here in this Redis service, we need few things, that is the API that we are going to call. So if you go here, that's the getScoin API that we are going to call here. So this is the API information. Okay, that's the API that we are going to call. So let's just create the static string for that. So let me just add the static string for that. Okay, you can see that I just added getScoin API and the URL for it, and you can see that it's trying to get the data for last 24 hours top 50 cryptocurrencies based on the market capital. Now here what I need is, I need the object of a Redis template, because I am going to call this data. So I will just do private Redis template, sorry, not Redis template, REST template, and I will auto wire it. Now let's fetch data and store to RedisJSON. So I'll create one method, public void fetch coins. Okay, now this method, what it will do is I can just log the information also over here. We will use the slf4j and we can define log.info inside fetch coins. What happened to my spellings? Okay, now here what I'll do, I will do REST template dot exchange what I want to exchange, that is the get coins API, and then the method is http method.get because that's a get request, and then after that I need to pass the http entity. So I'll get the http entity from the http utils which I had created, that is http utils dot get http entity. So all my headers and everything are set now, and then in which object I want the data back. So I want the data back in the coins object, so I'll just define coins.class. So this is the entire API call. Now this particular data you will get in the response entity. This response entity is of type coins because we are getting the data in the coins object. So I can define this is coins entity. At this point you got the data from your API. Now you need to store all the data in your Redis Stack. So let me do that. So what I'll do, I'll just create a method store coins to RedisJSON. Okay, and here I'll pass the body data, that is coins entity dot get body, and here let me just create the method. So I'll create the method here, that is a private method, and now here what I need is, this is still my coins, right? So let me just rename to coins, and at this particular point I want to call the RedisJSON. Okay, so I need the object of RedisJSON, as we already created the RedisJSONs over here in the Redis config, that is the RedisJSON here. So we can directly auto wire this and we can directly use it. So let me go to the CoinsDataService and let me do private RedisJSON and auto wire this. And here what I will do, I will just say RedisJSON dot set, and here this particular set method, you can see that it takes two arguments, that is the key, in which particular key you need to store the data, and the set arguments, how you want to store the data. Okay, so first thing is key. So let's create the key here. So what I'm doing is I'm just creating a static key. So I'll just define here that Redis key coins, this is my key coins. Okay, and I want to use this. So I'll just define here that I want to set all my data in this particular key, and set args dot builder dot create. Okay, and you can see that within this create method it's taking two parameters, that is the path and the entire string JSON. That's the two things it's taking. So my path would be my root path, okay, because that's the entire JSON that I want to store in the root path. So for that I'll just define dot, that's my root path. And what is the data that I want to store? I want to store my entire JSON that I got. So I'll just use JSON utils dot to JSON, and I will pass my entire object. Simple, right? See how simple it is to use the Redis Stack. So whatever the entire data that you got, that entire data is now saved to your Redis JSON simply. Okay, now to call this, what you will do is this fetch coins method you will call inside your application startup, because you want to call this when you start your application. So for that, what you need the object of your service. So I'll define private CoinsDataService. You will auto wire this, and in the on application event you will just call CoinsDataService dot fetch coins. Simple. Okay, currently if you go to your browser, if you go to localhost 8001, that is your RedisInsight, you can see you have no data, no keys available. Okay, what we will do is we will start our application. Okay, and here you can see that your application was started and it was called the CoinDataService as well. So that means that your data has been fetched from the API and it's stored in the database. So if you go to the RedisInsight again and if you refresh, you can see that my coins key is created. It's of type JSON format, and once you click this, you can see that you are able to see your entire data. So you can see that you're getting the status, you're getting the data, you're getting the states information, and you're getting all the coins as well. Okay, you can see all the 50 coins, and for each and every coin you can see that coin information as well. Like this is a particular UUID, and this particular is a Bitcoin, that is a BTC, name is Bitcoin. You can get the icon URL, you can get all the other information, you can get the Ethereum and all. Okay, so you can see that entire data has been fetched, and now that data has been stored in your database. Okay, so one part is clear, that you got all your data and all the data has been stored in your RedisJSON. Now what you have to do is you have to get all the data of the history as well. Okay, so what we will do is we need the history of each and every coins that we have. So what we will do is we will fetch this data from the RedisJSON. We will loop through each and every coin that we have, and we will do the API call to get the history data, and all those history data we will store in the Redis TimeSeries. Okay, now this data for each and every time series history data, that is also we have multiple, because you can see that for history also, price history, you can get the data up to 5 years. Okay, so what we will do is we will call the data for each and every time period. So we will get the data for last 24 hours as well, we will get the data for last 7 days as well, last 3 months as well, last 1 year as well, 5 year as well, and 3 years as well. So we are going to get all the data, and all the data we are going to store in the different time series. So whenever from the UI or whenever from the user tries to get the data and user is saying, okay, I need the Bitcoin data for the last 24 hours, we can directly get the data from that key and we can process those results. Whenever user tries to get the data for the last 3 years for the Bitcoin, we can directly fetch the data from that key and we can pass along. Okay, so that's very easy. You can see that now your mind will be tricking, okay, this time series is going to be very useful, and it is. So now let's go ahead and implement that. What we are going to do is we are going to loop through each and every data that we have in the database, and then we are going to call the data from the API and we are going to store the data. It's very simple, and you will see the power of Redis TimeSeries and Redis Stack itself. So now let's go ahead to our application and let's build that. We will just stop this. We will go to the Redis CoinSDataService. Now this is the one method. Now let's create one method, that is public void fetch coin history. Simple method. Okay, and let me just log that as well. Log.info inside fetch coin history. Now here what I need is I need the list of data stored in the RedisJSON. Okay, already. So what I'll do, I'll create a method which will give me list of coin info. I need all the list of data, that is list of coin info, and I'll just define list of all coins equals to get all coins from RedisJSON. Okay, this is the method that I'm going to create. So let me create this method. Now here what I'll do, I need to get this data from the RedisJSON. So I'll just define RedisJSON.get, and here you can see that this is taking the key and it's taking the class, and it will take the getArgs. That getArgs will take the path from which path we need to get the data. So I'll just define CoinData.get, and the key is Redis key coins, and the class is coins data, that is CoinData.class, and then I need to pass the new getArgs. So in the getArgs, here I need to define the path. Okay, if you pass the dot, that means your entire JSON you will get. Dot indent is defined by /t, dot new line is defined by /n and dot space is defined by space. So that's the data that you are going to get. Now you can see path. If you specify dot, you will get the entire object. That's how we define here, right? Root. But from here, if I go to my Redis database, I don't want the root path. I want the data path, okay? Because from this data, I can directly get all the coins. If I directly get the coins as well, what the issue is, I can directly get the coins as well because it will directly return with the array list, and that array list will be of coin data. But currently this library does not support that. It does not support generalization. So that's why we are going the way around. Once this library will get the update, we can change accordingly. Because if you see this get method, okay, let me just accept it. This get method, you can see that you can directly specify the class of type only. There is no generics that you can define. So due to that limitation, we are going this way. Otherwise, we can directly get the entire collection, the entire array list as well. So what here we will define is I want dot data. Okay, so this data object, rather than getting this object, I will get this data object, and this data object will contain the coins, and we can directly get the coins from that. So from here I can return. I need to store this data as well somewhere, right? So what I'll do, I will get the data in the coin data. So I can define coin data equals to this, and I can return coin data dot get coins. So you can see how easily we are able to store the data and how easily we are able to get the data from the RedisJSON. So at this point, you can see I got all the coin info. Now I need to loop through and I need to fetch the data and I need to store in the time series. Let's do that now. Now we need to get the data from the new API. So let's define that API. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to define API and I'm going to define one array, which that array will contain the time period, because we are going to get the data from the multiple time periods, right? So let me just define that. So you can see that I defined one API, that is the get coin history API. That is the API. And after that, I need to add the coin history time period params as well. So this API I need to provide / I need to provide the UUID. If you see here in the coin history, that's the detail. You can see that you need to pass this information, then you need to pass the UUID of the coin, and then you need to pass the query parameters, that is the history, and for what time period you need the history. So that's what we are going to do. We are going to pass this URL, plus we need to append the coin UUID, plus we are going to append this time period, and that time period will list from here. That is the 24 hours, 7 days, 30 days, 3 months, 1 year, 3 year, and 5 year. So we are going to loop through each and every thing over here. Now let's go ahead and implement that here for all the coin information. What I'll do, for all the coins dot for each coin info, and for time period dot for each. Okay, you can see that I'm looping through twice. What I need is I want to fetch coin history for time period, and here I will pass the coin info and the time period. And let me create this method. Let me refactor this because I just made the spelling mistake. Now in this method, I'll just change this to time period, and I'm just adding the logger information. Okay, fetching coin history of get name and the time period. Okay, for which particular coin history we are fetching the data. That's what I'm defining here. That's a simple logger, and then I am defining the URL as well. So string URL equals to get coin history API plus coin info dot get UUID plus coin history time period params plus time period. You can see that that's the URL we have created. I can split here. Okay, that's the URL. Now what I need is I need REST template dot exchange, and exchange is URL dot http method dot get, and then http utils dot get http entity, all good, and in which class I want the data, that is coin price history dot class. Cool, right? And this data will be stored in the response entity, and this will be of coin price history entity, and I will add the loggers as well for this. Okay, data fetched from API for this particular coin history. Now you can see that you got the data. Okay, now for this particular data, what you can do is you can store the data in your database in your Redis Stack, that is in the time series format. So for that, let's create one method. So what I'll do, I'll just define store coin history to Redis time series, and I'll just pass coin history response entity dot get body, coin info dot get symbol, and then time period. That's the data that I'm going to pass, and this is the method. So let me just create this method that will store the data in my Redis time series. Okay, that's the method, and let me just define this is the coin price history and time period. All things are good. Now let's add the logger that we are storing coin history of this for time period this into Redis. Simple thing. Now let's store the data. First thing is we need the coin exchange data. So what I'll do, I'll just define list of coin price history exchange rate, and I'll define coin exchange rate, and I can get from the coin price history, that is the input parameter here, dot get data dot get history. So I got the history data because that's the history that I want to store. Now this history I want to store as a key based on the symbol, okay, colon time period. So suppose if it's Bitcoin, so I want to get the data as a Bitcoin colon, and the time period is 24 hours, so I can define 24 hours. If it's BTC colon 1 year, I can define as 1 year. If it's Ethereum, I can define Ethereum colon 3 years. So these are the keys that I want to define. So this way I'm going to store the data. So this is the key, and I am going to store the entire history within this key. So suppose if someone is telling me, give me the Ethereum data of last 3 years, I can get the data from this key and I can directly send back. If someone says I want the data of Bitcoin of last 1 year, I can get the data from this key, I can send it over directly. Okay, super easy, super cool. So I will define here coin exchange data, coin exchange rate. That's the list dot. We are going to stream through it, and we are going to filter here. Okay, now what we are going to filter, because this data sometime may contain the null values as well, so I don't want to store those null values. I want to bypass those null values. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to filter those if ch dot get price not equals to null, and ch dot get timestamp not equals to null. So that's the filter I'm doing here. And after that, dot for each coin history, I want to add in the time series. So I want to add in time series, so I need to have the object of the time series as well. So let me add the object of time series here. So I'll just define private RedisTimeSeries, and I will auto wire this. Okay, we will come here and we will do RedisTimeSeries dot add. Okay, and here you can see that this add method is taking the sample and it's taking the time series option both. So we need to create the new sample here, and what this sample is taking, again key and value. My key is, as I talked earlier, that is symbol colon time period. So I'll define symbol plus colon plus time period and value. So the value is sample dot value dot of, and you can see that the value contains two things, that is your timestamp and your value as well. So here I will define long dot value of ch dot get timestamp and long dot value of ch dot get price. Rather than long, it should be double, right? So double dot value of price. Now what I need is, after this sample, and here I need to define the new time series options as well. So in this new time series options, I want the data to be uncompressed, because if you want to compress, you can compress the data as well. I don't want to compress. And I want to pass the duplicate policy as well. What if there is a duplicate data? So if there is a duplicate data, I want latest duplicate data to be persisted. Okay, last one. Okay, you can see that your entire method is now created. What you are doing, you are looping through everything and you are storing the data in your Redis time series based on these keys. Okay, you are creating these keys and you are storing the data for each and everything. And then at the end, you are just logging that completed. Okay, so that's the implementation. Now you can see that you completed the entire implementation. Now what you have to do is you have to call this method at the starting of your application. So if I go here and if I call this method, that is the CoinsDataService dot fetch coin history. Now this will fetch you all the coins. Now okay, now if we start our application, it will get all the data from the coins, and after that it will fetch data from your RedisJSON and it will loop through and it will call the APIs and it will store the data in your time series. Currently if you see in your Redis, you have only one key available, that is in the JSON format. Now it will loop through and it will store in the time series. So now let's go ahead and store the data. Now what you can do is you can create the labels as well if you want, and you can store the labels as well. But for this application, we don't need labels, so we are not adding the labels. So now if I start my application, it will try to get all the data and store. So let's start the application. Yeah, you can see that it is getting all the data. So we'll wait for this to complete. It will take a couple of minutes to complete all the data and then we will get back. Now you can see that the entire process is completed. All the data is been stored now. If we go back to our browser and go to the RedisInsight, and if I refresh, you can see that all the keys are created. You can see a lot of data are there. There are total 351 keys. And if you see here, you can see all the keys. You can see this is a symbol that is CRO:5 years. So if I get the data from this particular key, this time series, you will get the data of those 5 years. And if you want to visualize all this data, okay, so if you go here in the workbench and here if I get the data, that is the ts.info, okay, and key I can provide btc: suppose 3 years, okay, and if I query this, you can see that I'm getting the data, that is the total how many 1091 samples are there, and you can see that what is the memory usage, what is the first timestamp, what is the last timestamp, what is the retention time, what is the chunk size, all the informations are available here. So what I'm doing here is if I do ts.range, and here you can see in the range I need to pass the key. The key is btc:3 years, and then I need to pass the from timestamp and to timestamp. Okay, so from here I can take the timestamp, that is the first timestamp. I need all the data, so that's why I am passing here first timestamp is this and the last timestamp is this. And if I run this, I should be able to visualize this. You can see that your entire visualization, your entire chart is prepared from the particular date to till current date. How many values are there at what time, what is the value, and every information you are getting. So you can see this way Redis is storing the data in the time series, and you can get the data of each and every time series that has been stored here. So one thing is clear, how we are storing the data in Redis Stack, how we are storing in JSON format, how we are storing in time series, and how we can manipulate the data within this Redis Stack. Now what we will do, we will create the controllers, that is the REST APIs, to fetch this data. Okay, I want all the coins as well, and when I click on any particular time period, I want the data for that particular time period as well. So that two APIs that we are going to create, that we can use from our application, UI application. So let's go ahead and build this two APIs. So let me just stop this server. Currently what I'm doing is, to save the time, I'm just commenting this two out, okay, because I already have the data. I don't want to get data again when my application starts. You can also create a scheduler as well, and those scheduler will run every day to get the fresh data. That also you can do. But currently this course is more of how to get the data and how to manipulate within the Redis Stack. Now let's create the controller. So what I'll do, I'll create one controller, that is coins ranking controller, coins ranking controller, and I will annotate this with @REST controller, and I will also define request mapping. Request mapping I'll do is /API/v1 /coins, and I'll do slf4j as well if I want any loggers. I'm also adding the cross origin here because when we are using from the UI, we will be needing this. So let me just define cross origin value equals to, and my application would be running in port 3000. So I know that, so I'm just adding this information, http colon localhost colon 3000. Now here in my controller, what I need is I need the object of a service as well. So let me just define that private CoinsDataService, and I will auto wire this. And here let's create first method, that is the public list of public response entity of list of coin info. Okay, I need all the coin info, and I just define fetch all coins. Okay, simple thing. And this will be get mapping, and here what I'll do, I'll just return response entity dot okay dot body. In this body, what I need is I need the data. So what I'll do, I'll just define CoinsDataService dot fetch all coins from RedisJSON. That's what I want to do, but this method is not available, so we need to go ahead and create this method. So let me just create this method, and this will return list of coin info, and this will return get all coins from RedisJSON, because this method we already created, which is taking all the data from the RedisJSON and converting into coins and passing it. So here you can see that my one API is created completely fine. If I run this, let me just run this, and my application is started. And if I go to the browser, if I go localhost 8080 /API /v1 /coins, you can see that I'm getting all the coins here. Okay, all the information I'm getting here. So your one API is completely done and it's completely working fine. Now we need to create another API which will give you the data, that is data for your history. Okay, so let's go ahead and create that. Now what I need is, you can see that I have already created one history data model. Okay, this history data model, you can see it's taking timestamp and value in double. Now why timestamp in double? Because when we are passing the data back, I don't want to send the timestamp value that is in the Unix timestamp. I want to convert to date, and that date I want to pass it in a string, because when I'm creating the chart in my UI application, that's what I want the data. So that's why I've created the history data model here. So let me go back to my controller and let's create one more method. I'll just define public list of history data fetch coin history per time period. Okay, now this is the method. Now what I need is this particular will be again get mapping. Now for this particular API, I'm going to pass some data, because for which particular data I want. So for that, I'm going to pass that for symbol, that I want to pass the symbol, plus I want to pass the time period as well. Okay, so suppose I'm passing Bitcoin, that is BTC / I'm passing 24H. So that means I want Bitcoin's 24 hours of data. If I'm passing BTC 1 year, I'm needing 1 year of Bitcoin data. If I pass ETH 3 year, I need Ethereum 3 years data. Okay, that's this plan here. And as these two values are path variables, I need to take this as a path variable here. So I will be taking @path variable string symbol @path variable string time period. Now you need the data. So what you will do is you need list of data, and by default TimeSeries data you will get in the list of sample.value. So sample.value in this particular class, that is, you can see that this value is of timestamp and value. So this way you will be able to get the data. So let me get it this way: coins ts data equals to CoinsDataService dot fetch coin history per time period from Redis time series. Okay, this is the method and I am passing symbol and time period. And this method is not created, so let's go ahead and create this method. Now this method will be getting all the data. Now here you can see that when I showed you from the Redis stack, what I did was I want the entire data itself. Okay, so whatever key I'm passing, I want the entire data. So I'm not bothered about getting a particular time frame from the user. Okay, what I can do is I can get that particular time frame from the key itself, from the time series itself. So what I'm going to do is whatever the key I have, I'll get the from timestamp and to timestamp, that is the from and to value from the time series itself, and I'm going to pass to the command to get the entire records. Okay, that's a simple thing I'm going to do over here, because you can see at this particular ts.info, when I got the complete information of the time series. That time series was also having the from timestamp, that is from timestamp and to timestamp. Okay, these two values were there, you can see. So I can get these values from the time series info and I can pass those values to fetch all the records, because I don't want user to give those values. Okay, because user can directly select I want 1 year data, that's it. So that's what we are going to do today. So the reason I'm doing is I can directly pass the data as well. The reason I'm doing is that you will get to understand one more command and you can understand one more thing, how the Redis time series is working. So this Redis time series info gets the data in the map. So I want to get that map object. So here I can define map of string and object, that is tsinfo equals to fetch time series info for symbol, and here I'm passing symbol and time period, and let me create this method. Okay, so this is simple method and simple implementation as well. So what I'll do, return Redis time series dot info. Okay, and here I need to pass key, that is symbol plus colon plus time period. Now from this particular tsinfo object, what I can do is I can get long first timestamp equals to long dot value of tsinfo dot get first timestamp dot to string, because you can see that that's the key that has been used here, first timestamp. Okay, that's what we are using here, and the same thing I can do for the last timestamp as well. Okay, so you got first timestamp and last timestamp. Now you can get the data. So what I want is I want list of sample.value, that is your coins time series data, and here I can define method fetch time series data for coin, and here I can pass symbol, I can pass time period, and I can pass first timestamp and last timestamp, and I can return coins ts data. Simple thing, right? Now let's implement this method to fetch data from the time series based on the key and first and last timestamp. So I'm creating this method. Now here I need to define the key. So let me just define string key equals to symbol plus colon plus time period. That's your key. Okay, and data is Redis time series dot range. Okay, we can see that when from here also we got the data from the range only. Okay, ts dot range, and then we pass the key, and then we pass the first timestamp and the last timestamp. So that's what we are going to do here. In the range we are going to pass the key, then first timestamp and the last timestamp. Okay, and I can directly return this. So you are getting the data now. If I go back to the controller, so here you are getting the data now. Now one more thing is I need a utility to convert the data as well. So what I have is I have a utility created. So let me just create a utility. Now this utility class will just have two methods, converting Unix timestamp to date and converting to rounding of the values. So let me just copy that two methods here. It's simple two methods, okay? Nothing fancy. Two methods, that is convert Unix time to date. I'm passing the Unix time and it's converting to GMT format with this date format. And there is a round method which will convert the value into 2 decimal places. So if I go back to my controller, I got the CoinTS data, and this data is raw data. This data contains direct values and the direct timestamp only. I want to convert this now. So what I am doing is I'm converting to list of history data, that is coin history, and here I am doing coins data dot stream dot map value equals to new history data, and this will take utility dot convert time Unix time to date, and here I'll pass value dot timestamp, and then I'll do utility dot round, and here I'll pass value dot get value, and I'll pass 2 because I want 2 decimal places, dot collect collectors dot toList, and then return coin history. And if I go here, you can see that at this particular point I was getting all the coin information. If I do one more, that is /coin/ if I pass symbol, that is BTC, and /24h, that is a time period, I should be able to get the data. You can see I'm getting timestamp this, and the value is this. These all values are in dollars. Okay, so I'm getting all the records here. And if I go with the ETH, I should be getting for Ethereum. Cool. So I am getting all the records now. My both the APIs are completely working fine. All my implementation within the Spring Boot and Redis Stack is completely done. You can see how easy it is to implement, how easy it is to get the data and everything within the Redis Stack. And you can see how powerful and how fast it is to get the data back as well. Now what we will do, we will implement the UI. We will quickly implement the UI and we will show all the data here. So for the UI, we are going to create the next application. So let's go ahead and create the next application. So what I'll do, I'll just go to the terminal. So here I'll just use npx create next app, and I'll give the name, that is the crypto rankings UI. So you can see that my next app is getting created. I'll go to the crypto rankings UI folder, and I'll open this in the VS Code. So I'll just remove all the things which I don't need. Okay, I don't need anything from the main section. I don't need entire footer section. I don't need this as well. Okay, so all the things are removed here from here, and from the public app.js, all the things are fine. And if I just do npm run dev, I should be able to start my server. You can see that my UI is running now. So now let's quickly add the data. So what I'll do, I will just add the components here. So let me create the folder components, and within this components I will create one component, that is the navbar.js. And for this navbar, I'm going to copy from the headless UI and hero icons. So let me just add those dependencies as well. So what I'll do, I will open the new terminal and npm I headless UI react, and I will add hero icons react. You can see both are added. If I check in the package.json, 2 dependencies are added, that is headless UI react and headless icons. So all good with that. And let me just copy this. Okay, now this is nothing. Okay, it is just saying that it's coin ranking. Okay, so you don't worry, nothing is complex here. So if I go to the index.js, within this main, here I can add navbar. Okay, the things are still not working because we need to add the Tailwind dependencies as well, as we are using the Tailwind CSS. So to add the Tailwind dependency, we will go to the Tailwind CSS. Okay, we'll go to the installations, and we will just grab these commands. We'll go to the framework guides. We'll go to the next.js, and we're going to grab these commands, and let's install this. Okay, your Tailwind CSS is installed. You can see you are getting the Tailwind config.js files as well. You're going to copy this Tailwind config.js and just paste it here, and then go to the Here, copy this information, go to the global.css, paste here as well, and then run your server again. Simple, right? You can see that your navbar is coming, coins ranking. Now what we'll do, we will list down all the values here, okay, all the coins. So for that, let me create the class, let me create the component. So what I'll do, I'll create one component that says CoinList. You will use RAFC to create the component, and I'll add this CoinList in my index.js in my main section. So if you see here, you can see that your coin list is coming. Now what you need is, you need a table, right? So what I'll do, I will search for table, Tailwind CSS. I'll go to Tailwind components. Let's see if I can find a good table here. Okay, this feels quite good. So let me just get the source code from here. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this. I'll go to the coins list and I'm going to paste it here. I am going to remove this. There are some errors, so let me just solve all the errors here. I need to remove this. Then if there is anywhere else, line number 34. Okay, so it needs the closing tag. It needs the closing tag here as well. The closing tag here as well. Okay, you can see that I'm getting the table now, but we need to make sure that this table is okay. So what we will do is, you can see that how easy it is to create the components and everything in Tailwind CSS, right? You can directly get all the details from the web. You don't have to create everything by yourselves. So what I'm going to do is, I want this table to be a little bit bigger. So rather than 2XL, I'll just make it 7XL. You can see it's bigger now. Okay. Now, rather than justify center, what I can do is, I can just do margin top of something like 6. Okay, you can see that it's now really good. Now what I want to do is, I want to remove all this particular rows and I just want to keep one row, and I want to create a separate component of it so I can loop through the data. Okay, so what I'll do, I will just remove everything within this T body. There is one TR. I'll keep that TR, and rest all the things I'll remove. This is one TR. This is another TR. You can see only one record. That's good. Okay. Now instead of customers, I can see coins. And what I'll do, I will get this entire TR. I'll cut from here. I'll create one more component, that is CoinList item.js. Let me rename it. It's CoinList item.js. I'll create the component with RFCE and I will paste it here. And here I will add that coin list item. It should be getting the same result. Now what I want is, I want to fetch all the data from the backend service and I want to display it here. So let's do that. In the coin list, what I'll do, I'll create a state. I'll use a use state snippet to create a state, that is coins, and this will be blank array for now. And let me import use state as well. I don't need this import because you're using next.js. So you can see that you just created one use state. You can add the use effect. Let me create one more use state, that is for loading, and by default loading is false. And within this use effect hook, I will fetch the data. So let me just create the use effect and let me just import the use effect as well. And here what I'll do, I will create, I just don't need this and I don't need the return value as well. And here I'll define constant fetch data equals to async function, and here set loading to true, and then constant response equals to, here I need to install the Axios as well because I need to get the data. So what I'll do, I'll just install the Axios. Let me just quickly install npm I Axios. So here constant response equals to await axios.get, and here I need to pass the URL of my backend service. Okay, so I'll just grab the URL of my backend service, that is http localhost 8080/api/v1/coins. That's the same thing that you got the data here. Okay, that's the same URL, this one. So just add that URL. Now I want to set those data in the coins state. So set coins response.data and set loading to false. And what you need to do is you need to call this method fetch data. So when your page is rendered, when your component is rendered, you will get this data. Okay, now this is the header part. So let's change the header information. So here you need one more header, that is the rank of a crypto, and here I want text as center. Then I need coin info, then I need price, then I need market cap, and then I need the change. That's all the information that I need. Now at this particular point, here you can see that in the set coins, whatever I have set here, that's the entire list. So I need to loop through each and everything and I want to display the data. So let's go here. That's the coin list item. That's what we want to loop through. So this is a simple thing how we can show the data here. All the coins dot map, we can call all the data. Now this particular coin object we will get here. So what I'll do, I will pass as a coin here as a props. Okay, and I need to pass the key as well, because every component, whenever you are looping, you need to have a key. So I'm passing coin.uuid. Now within this coin list item, I need to use this prop. So I'll go here in the coin list item and I will add the prop here. And if I go to the coin list item, the TD I want first is rank. So let me just copy this, and here let me just add, instead of this, I'll just remove this and I will add coin.rank. So first is rank. Okay, and then you don't need this source, so I'll just remove this and I'll just define source is coin.icon URL. Now you can see you are getting this from here only. You can see you are getting icon URL. Okay, so from here only I'm using this. So this is coin.icon URL and I don't want this rounded. Okay, that's all. Then in alt I can define this name, coin.name. Then I need the price. So here I'm defining, I need dollar, I'm defining the string interpolation, I need dollar. Then I need the Java, and here I'm converting to number whatever the value I'm getting, that is coin.price. That to fixed to 2 values. Okay, then I need the market cap. So that also I will do the same thing. I will just copy this, I will add here, and instead of coin.price I will just add coin.market cap. And then last here I will add coin.change. What is the change? Okay, now what I need is for this coin.change, whenever there is a positive value I want to show it in green, and whenever there is a negative value I want to show it in red. So what I'll do, I will just change this class information this way. I'll do string interpolation. Okay, the class name equals to text lg text left, and I am just getting the number here, and whenever this number is less than 0, show it in red, I'll show it in green. And if you go here, you can see that I am getting the records. There are little bit of changes here, but we can correct it out everything. I'm not getting change here. Okay, I'm getting change in the market cap itself. There is still little bit of things that we can do here because it's not coming correctly. So let's handle that. So 1TD for rank, that should be center. Okay, this is done. Then for coin, this TD is for coin. So what I'll do, okay, one thing, I'll just copy this, and here I need to give the price, and here instead of this I need to just give the coin.name. This should resolve our issue. Yeah, you can see that now the issue is resolved. I am getting the data correctly. You can see that I'm getting all the 50 coins here, right? So your first page is created. Now what we can do is we can create the another page which will show the particular record. So whenever we click on this, we should be able to redirect to other page and to show all the records. So let's do that. I need to handle this tr on click as well. So I will just add that on click equals to, we need to route the values. Okay, so what I need is, I need the router object. So I'll just define constant router equals to use router. Okay, and this router is from next, so we'll just import use router from next/router. And here when we click, we will just do router.push, we'll do string interpolation /coin/$coin.symbol. Okay, and class name equals to cursor pointer. When you hover over bg gray 100 transition all duration of 150 seconds. So now you can see there is a smooth transition, and when you hover over, there is a background change as well. Okay, and when you click on it, you can see you are going to the /coin/btc page. Currently there is no page, but we are going to create the page. So that's what we are going to build now. So let's go ahead and create the pages. Now as this is the routing from the next.js, we have to create the pages in this pages directory. So as we have defined /coin/some value, that is the symbol, so that means we need to create a /coin folder, and within that coin folder we need to create the page. We need to create a coin folder, and within this coin folder we need to create a page that says in square bracket slug.js. Okay, now for this slug.js, we are just going to copy everything from your home, and instead of home function, I'm going to call it coin home. Simple thing. Okay, and to get the slug information to whatever the value that you have passed, you can get using the router. So you need to have the router object as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy this from here and going to add here as well. So I'll just copy this and add here. Okay, so your router object is here, and here you can get the slug information equals to router.query. And here I don't need the coin list, I need the another container. So what I'll do, I'll create one coin chart container. So let me just create that coin chart container.js. Okay, I'll do rfc to create the component. I'll go to slug.js, and rather than using coin list, I'm going to use coin chart container. Okay, and I'm going to remove this. So if I click here, you can see that there are something missing, so I need to add those information. Okay, so first thing is I need to add this way. So you can see that my coin chart container is coming. Now we need to build this component. What I'll do is I'll pass this slug information here as well. Slug equals to slug, and this slug I will add as a props in my coin chart container. Now for charts, we need to add few of the dependencies as well. So we are going to add all those dependencies, and we are going to call the data as well. So to create the charts, what we are going to do is we are going to add the recharts dependency. So let me just add the dependency here, npm I recharts. Okay, so you can see that the dependency is asking that it should be React 16 or 17, but as we are using React 18, it is not allowing. So what I'll do, I will just force install. If I see my package.json, I should be getting React charts. Okay, all good. Now we need to create one charts container as well. So what I'll do, I'll create a charts component, chart.js, and I'll do rfce to create the component. Okay, and within this coin chart container, we need to build it. So let's go ahead and build everything here. So within this div, so there is going to be another div, and this div, let me add the class name equals to, this is flex call, max width of 6xl, padding top of 6, margin top of 4, height of screen, and mx as auto. So everything is in the middle. And then within this div, class name equals to, this is flex and SpaceX of 4. And within this div, let me create one button, and what this button will do is this button will redirect back to your home page. Okay, that's a simple button. So let me just copy that button here. This is a simple button, and I have given type as button and all the class information and the SVG as well that says back arrow, and whenever you click on this it will get back to the home page. So for this also we need the router information. So let me just add the use router hook here. So I'm getting the use router hook and this is from the next router. Okay, and what I'm doing is after this button I'm just adding the h2 tag which will display the slug information whatever it's coming. So if we see now, you can see it's coming this way. If you go back, you'll go back. If you go to Ethereum, you will get Ethereum and you can go back from here. Simple thing. Okay, that's what we have done now. Now what we can do is here we can create the another div. This div will define class name equals to flex and mx auto, and here I can define my chart component. That is the chart component we have created. Okay, so when I click here, you can see that this chart component should come here. Now let's build this chart component quickly. So for this chart component, what we need is we need data. Okay, so let's fetch the data. So what we will do for fetching the data, as simple as we did earlier, we are going to create a state and we are going to use the use effect hook to fetch the data for the first time. So let's create the state here. We'll use the use state snippet and we'll define coin history use state snippet for loading as false. I will just import the use state, and this is from React, not prod main. Okay, now we need to have the use effect hook, use effect, and I will add this use effect in my imports. I don't want this dependency and I don't want this either. Okay, and I will create one constant fetch data method, and within this set loading to true, constant result equals to axios.get, and here I need to pass the URL. So I'll define the URL this way. You can see that it's simple. Okay, localhost 80/API/v1/coins/slug/time period. So if you go here, this is what we have defined, right? /coins/slug/ whatever the time period that we are defining. That's what we have defined here, and we are going to get the data. Once this is done, we are going to set coin history with result.data and we'll set loading to false here. And after that, we are going to call the fetch data method. Simple thing. Now this coin history, right? So this coin history we can pass in our chat. So I can define coin history equals to coin history. Okay, I will take this coin history as a props and add here in the props of this chart.js. Now for this chart.js, how to implement? It's also simple. If you go to the browser and if you search for recharts, go to the recharts over here and go to the get started here and go to the examples, and we are going to implement this simple area chart. Okay, that's what we want to build here. So what you can do is you can directly copy this information. Okay, directly copy this entire thing and pass the data accordingly. So that is what we are going to do here. So what am I doing here is I am directly copying this entire area chart. Okay, within this chart I just copied, and you need to import everything. Import area charts, import definitions, import linear gradient, Cartesian ID, x-axis, import y-axis, import tooltip, import area, everything. Okay, and here you can see that whatever the chart data you are getting, that is coin history, I am passing that entire coin history to my data component. There is data props for this area chart, and in my x-axis from this date coin history component, there is a key, that is the timestamp that I have given here in the x-axis, and in the area based on what value I need to create the chart, that is the value that I have defined. So if you come here and if I go here, you can see that I am getting timestamp and value. So that two thing I have defined, that is value and timestamp here. And if you go to my application now, you can see that the chart is coming but there is no data coming, but we will fix it. Okay, so that's the chart component now. Okay, we'll try to fix that after some time, but the other thing I want you to implement is the buttons. Okay, so what we will do here, after this chart component, okay, we will create one div. Okay, let me just give the class name equals to flex mx auto and margin top of 12 pixels. And within this div, let me create a button and let me give the class name equals to all these fields, and I'll give this button as 24h and pm run div. You can see that you are going to see this kind of button. Okay, so we are going to add a bunch of buttons here. So let's add that, and let's first add the implementation of one button so we can copy for each and everything. So for this button, we will add an on click event as well. So when we do on click for this button, what we want to do is for event E, and then we can do fetch history data, and for this we will pass E and we will pass one value. This is for 24h, so we will pass 24h here. And let's create this method. We'll define constant fetch history data. That's an async method. We will define E and time period, and here we will define e.prevent default, set loading to true, then constant result equals to axios.get, and here we will define a URL. Okay, you can see that it's similar to the upper URL, but here we are passing the time period also as a variable now. Then set coin history as result.data and set loading to false. Simple method, you can see that. And now what I'll do, I will just copy paste this detail, this button, and make sure that it is for all the other fields. So what I will do, I will just copy this and this button for everything. And now you can see that I'm getting this buttons. Okay, now we need to make sure that this is working. So what I'll do, I will just try to, let me just restart it. Okay, because sometimes restarting will just solve all the issues. So let me just stop the server and let's start it. Okay, if I refresh now my page, I should be able to get all my records. And if I go now, you can see that yes, so restart was the issue. So now I'm getting the records. Okay, so you can see that I'm getting my data now. If I go back, if I go for the Ethereum, I'm getting that Ethereum records as well. And for this also I'm getting data. If I click on 30 days, I'm getting 30 days record. If I click on 1 year, I'm getting 1 year record. See, if I click on 3 years, I'm getting 3 years record. And if I click on 5 years, I'm getting 5 years record. And this should be for everything. I get for Solana. Okay, so you can see that it's working fine. So my application is completely working fine. I'm getting all the records from the Redis stack itself. So all the data, all the history data, all the coins data, either it's stored in the Redis time series or it's stored in the RedisJSON, and everything is been fetched properly. And you can see that how easy it is to implement your backend application using Redis Stack. So here till now you can see that we did a lot of things. We created the entire application and we are storing each and every data in our Redis Stack. We use the RedisJSON, we use the Redis Timeseries, we created a different time series for different time format, and we stored all the data, and how easy it was to fetch all the data and show in the UI or to create the application REST API to fetch all the data. Now from here forward, what you can do is you can go through the other concepts available within those time series and within those RedisJSON, like creating the labels, adding the labels, fetching the data based on the labels. It's very easy. Just you need to pass the label information. We just haven't passed the label, but what you can do is while saving, just pass the label, and while getting the data, just pass the label to get the data. That's very easy. You can go through the documentation and you can get the data. The client library that we use also is really good. And after that, what you can do is you can also leverage the Redis probabilistic data structure as well. You can use RedisBloom. You can also leverage the RedisSearch as well. We have not used RedisSearch in this particular example, but you can go ahead and implement the RedisSearch as well. It's very easy to implement. You just have to create the indexes, and based on those indexes you can fetch the data. Currently we fetch the data directly from the RedisJSON based on the JSON syntax. If you have any doubts regarding any of the topics that we have covered, then you can add the comments and I will try to reach you out as soon as possible. I will try to solve your comments as soon as possible. And if you want to reach me out to any of the social media as well, then also I am available. I will add those links also in the notes so you can directly get those links from here. So this is all about the Redis Stack. I hope you have found this crash course very useful. And with that being said, I will see you around. Till then, happy coding.